Okay, next question. There seems to be general agreement that the shortage of affordable housing in the district is a serious problem. Yet the Housing Production Trust Fund has declined dramatically in recent years. What are your plans to restore funding to the trust fund to make housing more affordable for DC residents who face the greatest need? Mr. Orange?
Well, Housing Production Trust Fund has to be funded, and the reason being, if you can get $100 million in the trust fund, then you can leverage $500 million or more. The plan was to build 55,000 affordable housing units and to use the Housing Production Trust Fund for that, to get the recordation taxes and others to go into the fund. The bottom line is right now with the housing market down, we're not getting the revenues to go into the Housing Production Trust Fund, so we may have to tweak it a little bit to get another funding source. But the bottom line is you have to be able to have debt service to get access to more capital and use the Housing Production Trust Fund to service the debt. So I'm behind the Housing Production Trust Fund 100%.
Mr. Page?
Yeah, it may be time to consider radical proposals such as possibly a small tax on new developments coming into the city that we can, and of perhaps something around the range of 1% of a tax on new developments in order to bring in money into that Housing Production Trust Fund. And the way we can explain that to developers is when we have more affordable housing in the district, we have more people coming online as homeowners. We have more people gaining equity and more people who basically will occupy the city. No one's planning on really buying a luxury condominium in a neighborhood that's half abandoned. So we've really got to get the overall real estate market jumping, and the way to do that is to increase the amount of affordable housing stock. And if we do that, we can reduce the number of vacancies, we can reduce the number of properties on the market, and we thereby would make these other new properties coming online more viable, because there's nothing worse than coming online to the market where there's a huge surplus of vacant properties. And I think hopefully the developers will understand that and we can move forward with that plan. Thank you.
Mr. Biddle?
Sure. So clearly the housing, the trust fund is one way of doing it, but sometimes we need to be a little bit smarter and think about the opportunities we have and how they demonstrate our values. And we talked earlier, someone mentioned about tax abatements, other incentives we use for industries or companies to relocate in the district. We ought to think about why we're not granting essentially tax abatements or other incentives to keep residents in the district and to make housing more affordable for, frankly, our workforce. I would start with our teachers, our firefighters, EMS, police, because the fact of the matter is, we're making choices around who we grant incentives to set up their businesses, because there's a belief that having these businesses both create jobs, but they also create tax revenue for the city. The same would be true if we incentivize residents living in housing that perhaps might be outside of their affordability today, that we could somehow subsidize and support so they could actually stay in housing, because frankly we do have a housing stock that is available, just not affordable to people. And to the extent that we can support our residents living and working in the city, it would help all of us, and it would increase tax revenue for other local businesses.
Mr. Lopez?
I'm definitely in agreement with looking at different sources on how we can build up the Housing Production Trust Fund. I think it's a great program, it's a great initiative, and we must continue to fully fund it. We should look at different partnerships we can enter into with private developers and nonprofits who have a vested interest in creating more affordable housing. We should look at federal programs, federal dollars that we can go out and bid for that would help us continue to or begin to build more affordable housing here in the city.
I'd like to hear what Mr. Mara, as a follow-up, would like to say about this issue as well. Is it appropriate for government to be doing things to increase affordability of housing, and if so, what do you think they should do?
Sure. We have, this is a program that already exists. I would certainly, as a member of the council, from an oversight perspective, any program that already exists, I would generally not look to cut as long as it's seen as effective and efficient. So I really look at it through the lens of, is this program effective and efficient? If it's not, then I'd look to reduce, cut it, or I'd offer an alternative solution as to how we can move forward. I do believe the programs that exist to incentivize incentivize police, teachers. These are the types of programs that we need to. When you hear from these folks, we need better incentives in those areas, because we certainly need more police, fire, EMS, and educators living in the District of Columbia. Right now, we just don't have the numbers that we should.